What was this? I don't remember what this was. Oh, this is okay. That's what this is. Good. What am I doing? I just wanted to check and see what that was, because I couldn't remember if I saw those. Like, I couldn't remember what that tip was, so I just had to click on it to see what it was. And yeah, I was just thinking, like, did I see that tip? Yes, I did. Nothing much. I am chilling. So I was like, recap of last time? Not don't recap. I was just like wondering what it like, not looking through. I was just looking through the tips. I was like, I didn't know if I watched that second tip. So I just wanted to see if I did, and then I clicked on it, and then I realized, oh yeah, I did know it. So I was just skimming, like, you know, skip through it, and so yeah, that's basically it. Hi, Surplus. How are both of you doing? Hope your day was good. Hope both of your days were good. All right. Glad to hear you're doing okay. Okay is always better than bad. Doing all right. All right is also better than bad. That's funny. Yeah, I was also. I was just saying. Oh, wait, you can also just go back to the other thing. Okay. Oh, can I do a recap of last time? Like, okay. Last time it was the. Well, we were originally just playing a game in the classroom, and then we suddenly got called out to by a random visitor who apparently seemed to, like, as we learned, to be a cop investigating the death of Tomitake-san, who apparently died. And the way of death, like the, how do you say? I can't remember what it's called officially, but it's like, you know, how he died. It's like, apparently he scratched at himself. He was apparently assaulted. There was a board that he used to fight back, but in the tips it said that he never actually, like, hit anyone with the board. So, that seems to be a bit rough. And then he came back into the classroom, and yeah, that was basically it from what I believe what happened last time. Yeah. I was sad because no pizza earlier, but I'm happy now because hundreds of tiny magnets. Why do you have hundreds of tiny magnets? I'm usually awake once it's time to eat, but it doesn't look like I can do it today. Yes, oh, Hishino's curse. Ooh. How would you be able to watch TV so much? Surely not, like, actually TV, right? He's probably, like, up thinking about what happened to Tomitake-san. My mom got me hundreds of tiny magnets. Okay. I know I had, like, a bunch of tiny magnets as well, like Buckyballs. I remember I had those. Those were cool. Why? Okay, raunchy TV shows. Rika, not patting my head only made me feel worse.
ちょっとこの昼休みは爆睡させてくれ。いや、ほんと、マジで。
私が黙って見過ごすとお思いで。
邪魔したら怒る。すごい怒る。
Oh, and he fell asleep. This was just dreadful. That you yesterday, me right now. That's what I was about to say. Like, I was feeling tired, and I didn't even go to sleep. I just went in bed, like, that was why I was a bit late. I went in bed probably like 30 minutes before, or like 45 minutes. basically before I started stream, right? I was just in bed and I just closed my eyes. I didn't do anything. I didn't end up falling asleep, but I just closed my eyes for 45 minutes. And I opened them to come stream and I feel better. So maybe I should just do that if I feel tired before stream. I slumped my head onto the desk and drifted off into an afternoon nap. It seemed that Satoko had responded, but I pretended not to hear.
さとこちゃんやめなよ。ケイチくん寝ちゃった。寝顔かいい。
後でお持ち帰りしていいから、そっとしときな。
向こうへ移動しましょうです。ケイチにうるさいと悪いですよ。
Rika-chan really is a good girl.
先生が来ても起こさないであげましょうです。
I take that back. The excuse that I didn't sleep much last night because watching TV was a lie. I swear the weather change must affect sleepiness. Probably. I mean, it was raining the entire day today. So that probably definitely has something to do with that as well. I was in bed at the usual time, but because of the conversation with Oishi-san that afternoon, I didn't get much sleep. Just spending the day like this, it's almost as if the incident with Tomitake-san didn't happen at all. It made me think, was Uishi-san trying to deceive me? But it's probably the truth. One thing was certain, I couldn't speak to anyone about it. He wanted my assistance, but I really didn't know anything about it. If I knew I wasn't going to be of any help, I probably wouldn't have listened in the first place. It ended up with me, again, regretting learning something I didn't need to know. If I'd never learned about it, I would, without a doubt, be goofing off with the rest of them right now. I couldn't help but resent Oishi-san for this.
それっていつから？
もう次の日にはいなかったって。綿流しの晩に失踪したらしいよ。
Oh? Mion whispered to keep the others from listening, but I could hear it clearly. On the other hand, Rena's voice was even harder to pick up, but I could still tell that she was quite upset. It couldn't be. Are they talking about Tomitake-san?
さん、けなの？
わかんない。私の知る限りではね。
I'd have to feign ignorance about this topic because I needed to keep it a secret. Rather than waking up and being forced to lie to join the conversation, it was much easier just to sit here and pretend I was asleep to listen in on their discussion. Wait, why did I have to pretend to be asleep while eavesdropping on my friend's conversation? Guilt stung.
で、他にもいるんでしょ？
Someone and me. There are others, right?
彼女がたたりにあったのか、鬼隠しにあったのかはわかんないけどね。
An Onikakushi. Onikakushi. To be hidden away by a demon? What a mysterious phrase. I did, however, get the feeling it meant nothing good.
何せよ。もう一人いるんだよね。だよね。
お社様なら、ね。
でも、今年は、出ないよ。
バッチャと村長さんが話してたんだけどさ。
OMG chapter name. Oh, yeah. I was wondering where I heard that before. That was the title name drop. I didn't realize.
今年は、事前に警察と話がつけてあるらしいんだよ。何が起こっても、騒ぎにしないで穏便に片付けるって。
じゃあ、レナたちが知らないだけで、どこかで誰かが、
かもね。
次は、レナかな。
安心しなよ。レナはちゃんと帰ってきたよ。
でも、ダメだったんでしょ？
昔の話だよ。もうやめよ、この話。
Amidst the uncomfortable mood, both of them went silent. The entirety of the conversation was still a bit unclear, but a few parts caught my attention. First of all, the term Onikakushi. To be demoned away by the context it was used in. I would guess it's similar to be spirited away. Like the movie? I suspected that it was what it meant, because Tomitake-san and that woman, it really bugged me that I didn't know her name, vanished after the Watanagashi. The next thing that stuck out when Rena said, there's another one, right? Mion also said, if it's Oyashiro-sama's, yeah, responding to something. If it's Oyashiro-sama's curse, then there had to be 2 victims. Is that what she meant? Come to think of it, I remember Mion saying at the beginning that they didn't know if it was from the curse or if it was a case of Onikakushi. Seems that the curse and being demoned away are 2 different things, and they were phenomena that were paired together. I recalled Tomitake's-san's terrible end. That wasn't something as elegant as disappearing. That horrendous end would be described as a cursed. Then the woman with him, it meant that she vanished because she was demoned away? What I do know is there's normally an even number of victims of the curse proper. And the last point that bothered me was Rena. Rena was frightened. For what reason, I didn't know. However, she knew that something had made her a potential target for Oyashiro-sama's curse. If I recall correctly, Oyashiro-sama should be the guardian deity of Hinamizawa. Isn't a guardian deity supposed to defend the citizens and drive out invaders? If I recall correctly, yesterday, Uishi-san said that originally the targets were enemies of the village, but recently there was no longer any distinction between them or regular outsiders. But if that was the case, then I would think that I'd be the more likely target, having moved here more recently than Rena. From her composure, I could infer that she was grimly certain that she would be next. I should probably relay what I heard just now to Uishi-san. Informing the police of what I heard by eavesdropping on my friends while pretending to be asleep made me feel terrible. I raised a few questions and left me with a bad taste in my mouth. Would it be better not to seek the answers to those questions? As I continued to learn more and more, I felt like I had fallen past the point of no return. I would definitely regret this one day. Oh, I forgot to turn off my alarms. Well, that's a bit awkward, isn't it? I would definitely regret ever having learned of these events. Oh, thank you, Satoko, for awaking us. I hastily opened my eyes and raised my head. Rika is mean, yeah. It was in that moment when I leaned against the back of my seat. There was a thumbtack stuck on the back of my chair with tape. How did he not realize that? I'm pretty sure if he was pretending to sleep the entire time, he would have known. Guilty without trial. Capital punishment. I furiously jumped up from my seat. And I tripped as if my feet were tangled up. My shoelaces had been tied together. The teacher came in right as I was about to pull off my shoes and tackle Satoko. She's mean too, yeah. What? Why did they get so close? Not caring one bit, I made her eat a flick to the forehead. I saw Satsuko stick her tongue out at me. That little brat! In any case, I apologize, even if it was in a completely insincere tone of voice. Damn her. I'll remember this. I sat down after Mion told me to. She switched to class representative mode. Like, she's slightly taller, but she is, teacher definitely looks younger than Mion. With boring classes finished, school was finally over for the day. Now then, what should we do for our club today? Personally, I would like to play that deduction game one more time. I was hardly able to play last time because of Uishi-san. Rena and I weren't able to test out our strategy.
そうだね。
Wait, weren't they supposed to go and buy something? Did they not go and buy it? Oh yeah, it was Mion's grocery list. I swear there should have been a scene with them buying the groceries.
でもどうでしょうね。同じゲームを続けて2日やった試しはありませんし。ミーにお願いしてみたらどうでしょうです。
Mion looked over her shoulder as we made eye contact. She slowly tapped her palm with her fist as her face suddenly lit up.
いっけね。今日おじさんの手伝いの日だ。
Oh,
悪いみんな、今日なし。
no Mion today.
おじさんの手伝い？柄にもなく高校なやつだな。
悪い悪い。ほんとすっかり忘れてた。じゃあごめんねみんな。今日はおじさんこれで帰るわ。
Mion left us with that and rushed off to the exit after snatching up her bag.
みーちゃんね、たまに街にあるおじさんのお店の手伝いに行くんだよ。
I thought she wasn't the type to get caught up in such bothersome stuff. That's bothersome, helping your uncle?
結構なお小遣いになるらしいですの。
I see. She was able to pay for that mountain of games with what she saved up from there.
しかしそれはアルバイトと言うんじゃないのか？校則で禁止されてないか？
What?
家事手伝いは除くと書いてありますです。
School? Is that what she's calling it? A school bans part-time work? So what now? Pass on the club today?
じゃあ今日はこれで解散かな
別に部長不在でもいいだろう。やろうぜ部活。
I opened the club locker and began searching for the deduction game from that ever-growing pile of games.
あったあった。昨日の推理ゲーム。ようやくコツが分かってき
What are
た
you
ところ
gonna
で
find?
中断しちゃったからな。
At the very least, I wanted to repay Satoko for what she did during the afternoon break.
私は構いませんけど、レナさんとリカはどういたします？ケイチくんがどうしてもって言うならちょっとだけいいかな。僕はみんなが揃っての方がいいなと思いますです。
When she says it like that,
部活がないなら僕はお買い物に行きたかったのです。お醤油とかを買いに行きますですよ。
soy sauce and other things. Why do you have to specify soy sauce?
そうでしたわね。すっかり忘れてましたわ。
Yummy soy. Yeah, I mean,
レナも久しぶりに
it's
宝
good,
探し
but
に行こうかな。
I don't, I'm pretty sure you could have said at least one other thing, or you could just said I was going to buy things. Treasure hunting? What's this now? Everyone was no longer in the mood for club activities. If I kept on trying to push the matter, it may make them realize I had a trick up my sleeve. Ah, well, I'll give up this time.
このゲーム楽しみにしていたのにな。
I shuffled through the cards as if I was still getting caught up on it.
またの機会に叩きのめして差し上げましたよ。
犯人はサトコ。凶器はピストル。やはり貴様の仕業だったか。
なんですって？
Oh?
じゃあ
What was that? Satsuko looked through the cards on her desk and stuck out 3 of them at me.
犯人はケイチ。凶器はロープで犯行現場はラウンジですわ。
ロープなんかいらねえ。このまま締め殺してやら。
いやー、ケイチさんの毛玉な。
Dude, she literally is the like, I guess no, it's not the boy who cried wolf, but it's like she's the instigator, and then she like starts crying when anything happens to her. Phew. Well, I guess it's good that I got that out of my system.
ケイチさん、覚えてらっしゃい。いっぱいいっぱいいたぶられましたですね。かわいそうかわいそうです。
What does that mean, Rika?
かいかい。
Everyone got ready to go back home. I also helped gather up the scattered because she's just a baby. No, she knows exactly what she's doing. I suddenly paused. She's also dumb. That is also true. They were just the suspect cars, but I noticed something strange. Rena, Satoko, Rika, Keiichi, Mion. Satoshi. Not all the cards were made by us. Or at least every card besides this one had the name of a club member. Hi, Ruben. Does this mean that this Satoshi fellow is a member? Was there someone in the class named Satoshi? How are you doing, Ruben? Couldn't find anyone named Satoshi on the class roster stuck up on the wall.
Keiichi-kun, 早く片付けよう。
Being rushed by Rena, I finished up quickly. I feel like this is an innocent question to ask. You can ask who Satoshi is. Yeah, I'm good. Hopefully I'll be less tired today, so I should be able, hopefully we'll be able to get through 2 chapters, but we will see what happens. Satoko and Rika-chan had already headed merrily for their lockers, so we were the only ones left in the classroom. Right now, Rena had already gotten her bag and was ready to leave.
やっぱりこのクラスからも転校で出て行っちゃった生徒
Okay, good, you are asking about it.
結構いるんだろ
I tried asking Rena in a bit of a roundabout way. Rena made a troubled face and then answered.
うん。ひなみ沢って田舎でしょ？転校していっちゃう人も時々いるよ。
じゃあこのサトシってやつも転校してったのか？
ごめん。よく知らないの。
There was a bit of a pause, but the answer was pretty much immediate.
その、意地悪で言ってるんじゃないの。ちょうど去年、レナが転校してきてから入れ替わりだったかな。
That makes sense. You might, I think, probably should ask someone else.
だからあんまりお話ししたことないの。ごめんね。
I'm not sure. Sorry. Her answer was a lot like when she refused to tell me about the murder at the dam. I was saddened by her denial and felt a little bit of anger. I'm their friend, aren't I? Friends don't keep secrets from their friends. Do they? Though I do appreciate that they kept that unsettling curse thing from me, but if everyone else is worried about it, I'd rather be worried with them. That's what it means to be friends. Right? For a moment, I wondered just what kind of face I was making just then, with those mixed feelings of sadness and annoyance.
ケイチ君、怖い顔してる。なんでだろう。
It's probably exactly the kind of face Rena said it was. It appeared my grim expression had frightened
あ
her.、
ごめん。今日の部活楽しみにしてたからさ。残念だっただけだよ。
I rustled Rena's hair.
帰ろうぜ。
Dragging that awkward mood with us, we headed home. I wonder why. Why have I been getting this dumb feeling lately? I didn't know anything. I had nothing to worry about. I was just enjoying my everyday life. My long, outstretched shadow gave no answer to my naive inquiry.
ケイチ君、疲れてるのかな？
Rena timidly questioned the reason behind my mood. I'm sure my expression made the situation even more unsettling.
そうか？
うん。今朝からケイチ君、なんだか元気ないよ。風邪かな？
Physically, I'm pretty sure I was in perfect health. May not seem like it, but I've had a perfect attendance since elementary school. Rena continued on since I didn't give her an answer.
きっとケイチ君、引っ越しの疲れが今になってきたんだよ。前に住んでたところとは全然違うところだもん。いろいろ慣れたり覚えたり、疲れて当然だよ。
そうなのかな？
うん。絶対にそうだよ。レナも最初そうだったから。
I was also like that at first, too.
わ
Okay.
かるんだよ。だよ。
I wondered if Rena also experienced the slight bit of alienation last year that I was feeling right now. She might have. I feel like that makes sense. Thinking so, I felt like she was the only one who could understand how I
レナが
felt.
ひなみ沢に転校してきた時の話が聞きたいな。
Okay, it's an interesting line of questioning. You see, when it comes to like the serious stuff, I really like Keiichi because a lot of main characters and stuff I feel in the, in other whatever, they like even in like any media or anything, it kind of annoys me how they just don't bring up a bunch of topics a lot of the time. But Keiichi, he actually does bring up things pretty frequently and confronts people, which I think is pretty good. I like that.
どんなだった？
Like, and not confronting her about how he feels right now, to me, makes a lot of sense as well, because it's like, he's still... This could actually be something bigger in terms of, like, a fight, and he still appreciates his friendship, and it's not something that he wants to bring up. Like, this thing with, how do you say? Him not bringing up him being alienated, or he's bringing it up in a roundabout way. So it's like not like he's completely leaving it off in the distance, but he's bringing it up in a roundabout way, which I think is pretty cool. I like that a lot when he's actually being serious, I think. Feeling like I'd been drawn into the conversation, her face suddenly brightened.
ケイチ君と同じだよ。人の名前も村の中も全然わかんなかった。みーちゃんとかが親切にしてくれたから全然寂しくなかったけど。
He does.
心細かったよ。
Rena told me all the details of when she had moved here. All of her first acquaintances and surprises, worries and good times.
じゃあ、レナもサトコにやられたのかよ。
うん。椅子に座ろうとしたら画鋲が置いてあったの。どっさり。そしたらそれを懐かしいな。
That really takes me back. It's only been a year, Rena. Okay?
ミオの部活にはいつ頃誘われたんだ？早速初日にか？
ううん。
Because it says that with direct nature's annoying slice of life matters was incredible. Yeah, it is. That is probably the best way of putting it, yeah.
最初は部活なんてなかったんだよ。途中からできたの。放課後にみんなで残ってゲーム大会をやろうって言い出して。
There wasn't a club at the beginning. So, there was someone called Satoshi that she should know then.
そういえば、ミオン初代部長とか言ってたっけな。
Very balanced and consistent character writing. Yeah.
納得。
内緒だけどね、みーちゃん最初は弱かったんだよ。全然勝てなかった。
ミオンが？ちょっと想像つかないぞ。
自分で言い出した罰ゲーム、ほとんど自分でやってたんだよ。本当に内緒だからね。
I can't imagine that. Like, she's the one... I mean, she would have improved a lot in just 1 year's time then. Good for her, I guess. I can't believe Mion was like that. So she gradually transformed into a monster who used any means necessary to win during that time. Mion is at her best when she's fighting dirty.
みーちゃん以外ともちょっとずつお友達になれて。でも。
What do you mean, but yeah?
ケイチくんが引っ越してきてからかな。ようやくここに馴染めたって自覚したのは。
I guess Rena had also been left in the dark about Oyashiro-sama when she had moved here. I guess when they finally told me about Oyashiro-sama, I'd be considered one of them.
俺はいつになったら仲間だと認めてもらえるんだろうな。
なんて言ったの？
あ、いや、ごめん。独り言。
ケイチくん変なの。
Rena was poking fun and laughing at me. I couldn't help but laugh as well. But I suddenly stopped. And after making up my mind, I spoke.
なあ、レナ。
Ooh, what is he gonna ask?
みんなは俺に嘘や隠し事なんかしてないよな。
してないよ、全然。
嘘だろ。
Rena suddenly stopped. Her expression was cold and intense.
どういう意味だろう、ケイチ君。
Her tone was still the same cheery and lighthearted one as
してる
before.
よな。俺に隠し事を。
After understanding what I meant, her expression grew even more intense. Seeing that face, I regretted saying something so rash, but she came back at me in a way I didn't expect.
じゃあさ、ケイチ君。ケイチ君こそ、レナたちに嘘や隠し事をしてないかな。
Her tone didn't change, but it was the first time I'd seen this expression from Rena. With how her gaze pierced through me, I couldn't believe this was the same Rena.
してないかな。嘘や隠し事。してないかな。
You are. Secrets. She didn't actually say that part, but she looked like if she did. The incident with Tomitake-san and how I felt alienated from the group. Even without having to think about it, there were things that I knew I felt guilty about. But I didn't tell everyone about what happened with Tomitake-san to be considerate. I was keeping it a secret just the same way they didn't tell me about Oyashiro-sama. Then aren't we even?
してないよ。嘘も隠し事も。
嘘だよ。
Her answer was instant and it shook me. Rena stared as if burrowing through me, watching me like a
どう
hawk.
して嘘だって。
ケイチ君、昨日の部活の時、先生に呼ばれて職員室に行ってたって言ったよね。レナは知ってるよ。ケイチ君は職員室になんか行かなかった。
I swallowed hard. It clearly wasn't a bluff. She knew what
先
happened.
生はお客さんが来たって言ったんだよね。でも、昇降口ではお話ししてなかった。校門のところの車の中で話をしてたよね。知らないおじさんと。
Rena knew everything. She knew that I was called out by Uishi-san and that I heard about the incident with Tomitake-san as well. Did she know all of
誰？
it?
あのおじさん。
知らない人だよ。
知らない人がなんでケイチ君に用があるの？
俺が知りたいよ。
じゃあ何の話をしていたの？
みんなとは関係のない話だよ。
It was a lie.
嘘だ！
That freaked me out. Rena's scream echoed through the trees, sending frightened birds into the air. I couldn't exhale the deep breath I had just taken. No, it was like I wasn't allowed to exhale. It was here, I first realized. The person in front of me, she wasn't Rena Ryugu. Then who was it that was standing before me now? But assumed Rena Ryugu's appearance. It held my breath for so long I could feel myself suffocating.
ね？
And then she made a facial expression that Rena normally might have. It didn't matter that it was Rena's usual smile. It chilled me to the bone. She drew closer to me. I felt her breath against my face. It wasn't the least bit exciting. Whoever this was with Rena's face was going to chew my nose right off. A coward as I imagined that. Then, she smirked, as if she was able to see right
ケ
through
イ
me.
チ君に内緒や隠し事があるように、レナたちにだってあるんだよ。
It was Rena's usual smile, but her eyes were still like that of a hawk's. Bringing her face close enough to mine, almost to bump my nose, she kindly persuaded me. I actually want to check. How does the original look? Okay. I couldn't nod or shake my head. This person standing in front of me, this person who looked like Rena, frightened me to my core. I was terrified, knowing that she could hear the sound of me swallowing nervously. After what felt like an eternity, after a long, empty silence, she finally spoke.
行こう。だいぶ涼しくなってきたよ。
It was Rena again. Smiling at me once more, she started walking as if nothing at all had happened. When I was released from her gaze, my legs gave out from under me and I slumped onto the ground. I wasn't able to lift a finger until Rena was out of sight.
誰だったんだよ。
I felt cold. My body was drenched in sweat. I was finally able to form a coherent thought and ask myself once again. Who was that person who looked like Rena Ryugu? Okay. But once again, I feel like Keiichi could have stood up. Like, he asked a question, and then she asked it back, and he started being on the back foot. I think he could have pressed more. I definitely think, like, I mean, obviously, he wasn't, I think probably some of the reason is that he wasn't expecting Rena to do that, you know? So, I think there's the part where she, you know, that completely threw him off his game, and he just was not expecting that. But I think, the best thing, just to press more. But yeah, I'm not sure. What do you think? I don't know. I don't know what to think. That's yeah, the the infamous Usoda. That was yeah, that freaked me out. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I was not expecting that at all. Yeah, I think it was the unexpected confrontation after Rena B. Yeah, exactly. Was I terrified from Rena going off on me? No, that's not right. That was someone else who only looked like Rena. And who could it have been? It was a dreadful feeling. Knowing that was someone else, not Rena. So tomorrow I shouldn't have a problem talking to Rena like I usually do. That thought was strangely comforting. I concluded that I should just calm down and clear my head. Though, those thoughts continued swirling around in my mind. Excuse me. Finally, I returned to my senses as I heard my mother calling out to me from the bottom of the stairs.
ケイチ、本屋さんから電話よ。
Bookstore. Can't think of why they'd be calling me. Went downstairs and picked up the receiver anyway.
夜分遅くに申し訳ありません。私、沖宮書房の大石と申します。
大石さん？大石さんじゃないですか。
ごめんなさい。ご両親が出られたので、本屋さんということにしておきました。警察ですって名乗ると、いろいろ気分を害されるでしょうしね。
Uishi-san was in his own way rather courteous. Even so, I didn't want parents hearing me talking to the police. I brought the cordless phone with me as I dashed back up to my room on the second floor.
夜分遅くにすみませんですね。実は昨日渡した電話番号のメモ、あれ古い番号だったんです。本当に申し訳ない。これから申し上げる番号を控えておいてもらえますか。
あ、はい。どうぞ。
He gave me the number from his direct line as I wrote it down. I thought that was the end of it, but he began making pointless small talk, and it was pretty hard to hang up.
さて、どうでしょう、前原さん。何か変わったことはありましたか？
I see. This was the real reason. You really beat around the bush there. His adult conversational skills left me slack-jawed.
大石さんはここの地元の方ですか？
ええ、そうです。生まれも育ちも沖宮ですよ。
He's from around here, he might know.
大石さん、鬼隠しって何のことか知ってますか？
それはですね、人が鬼にさらわれ、忽然といなくなってしまうことなんです。このあたり独特の言い回しですね。世間様で言う神隠しと同じ意味です。
Whereas my friends would say they didn't know when I asked, this older man gave me a direct answer. Made me a bit happy that he answered me directly without trying to hide anything.
南沢は、前原さんにこんなこと言っていいんでしょうか。
もったいぶらないでくださいよ。大石さんが言わないなら、俺も何も言いませんよ。
ああ、いやいや、そういう意味じゃないんですよ。ただ気を悪くされないかと思いましてね。実はですね、ひなみ沢はその昔、鬼の住む里って呼ばれて、恐れられていたんですよ。
鬼って地獄にいる金棒を持った
というよりは人食い鬼ですな。里に降りてきて人をさらって食い散らかしてしまう。なんて怖い昔話があるんですよ。
Demons snatching up people is what this Onikakushi really means.
たたりと鬼隠しは一緒に起こるって言ってましたけど。
The curse and being demoned away happen together. So, I guess they're trying to imply right now that the woman got Onikakushi'd and the guy was just murdered? Or like, no, the guy would be part of the curse then.
どういうことですか？
I already knew about the mysterious deaths happening 5 years in a row. But I didn't know if they were people disappearing for those same 5 years.
たたりと鬼隠しが必ず一緒に？それは初めて聞きました。
I guess, yeah, because the priest and the priest's wife disappeared. The guy who fell off a cliff, I think his wife disappeared. I forgot what the other one was.
そうなんですか、前原さん。
Or did both of them disappear?
それは俺が聞きたいですよ。レナとミオンが話してたんです。お社様のたたりなら必ずたたりと鬼隠しが起こるって。
Oishi-san began hemming and hawing on the other end of the receiver. Maybe something about that came to mind?
前原さん、
Whoa, why does it sound like he's right next to us now?
最初の事件ご存知ですよね。バラバラ殺人。
ええ。
Oh yeah, the dismemberment, okay.
6人の犯人のうち1人は
I'm
ま
gonna play it
だ
at some
逃
point.
走中なん
Yeah,
ですよね。
I think that sounds like a good idea.
例えば
I know Dianeo also wanted to play it at some point. Maybe you guys could play it together as well.
逃走中じゃなく鬼隠しにあったんじゃないでしょうかね。
Voice acting does weird stuff like that sometimes. Okay. Huh? It was an outrageous hypothesis from Oishi-san. The incident 4 years ago was the particularly ghastly one. The police already knew the perpetrators, so they posted tons of wanted posters with his face on them. They staked out various locations and investigated every possible escape route he had. But after 4 years, there wasn't even a hint of where he might be. Unless the police were completely incompetent. Even if it was an outrageous hypothesis, I couldn't simply laugh it off.
じゃあその翌年の事故はどうです？誘致派の男と妻が一緒に事故死したんですよね。
Okay, yeah, he and his wife both died in an accident. Okay. Is he gonna say like that was the official ruling, but we never found the wife?
実はですね、正式には事故死したのは夫だけなんです。妻は死体が上がりませんでしたから。現行法では死体が発見されない限り行方不明扱いなんですよ。
At the time of the incident, with the river below the cliff being a muddy rapids, the police divers had searched every branch off the main stream of the river for dozens of miles. But in the end, they weren't able to find her body.
でも死体が見つからないだけで亡くなったんですよね。鬼隠しとは違うんじゃないですか？
死体が出ない以上、亡くなったとは言えません。法律で定めた年月が過ぎるまで生存扱いなんです。
I'm not sure if it was right to call that being demoned away. The wife is missing. At least that part was reality.
3年目はどうなんですか？神主は病死。
Yeah, but you know
妻
that
は
she
自殺
disappeared.
ですよ。
No, but they said that she
前
disappeared.
原さん、実はね、これも全く同じなんですよ。
The wife had supposedly thrown herself into the bottomless swamp deep in the forest around Hinamizawa. I mean, it's all circumstantial evidence. They simply found her suicide note in front of the swamp. A diver was able to recover a few of her articles, but they weren't able to find a body. The investigative headquarters believed that she had faked her death and was still alive
こ
somewhere.
れらを鬼隠しと呼んでいいかちょっとわかりませんがね、前原さんの言う通り、確かに 毎年一人行方不明になっています。
今年の事件では富武さんの連れの女の人が行方不明。じゃあ去年の主婦の撲殺事件はどうです？誰か
Okay, yeah.
行方不明になりましたか？
This doesn't make
確か
sense.
犯人は逮捕されたんですよね。
逮捕されてます。以前に逮捕歴もあるやつでしてね。別件で取り調べ中に犯行を自供してます。
Dude, I'm just sorry. I'm just thinking back right now on Rena's face again. That is actually something that is, I don't know, just something about, because obviously I've seen faces like that before, but there's something about someone you've kind of known for some time now making that face and like confronting you like that. That is like very unsettling.
ですがですね。
I guess so, yeah.
犯人逮捕からしばらくして被害者宅の子供が行方不明に
They're gonna say his name was Satoshi.
犯罪に巻き込まれたのかどうなのか現在も捜査してます。
だって犯人は捕まったんですよね。それともその仲間が？
さあ多分単独犯だと思います。もっとも今では確かめようもないんですよ。実はその男取り調べ中に拘置所内でお亡くなりになっちゃいまして。
He swallowed a spork and choked to death. What? That is a crazy way to die. You didn't swallow like a piece of food or anything and then choke to death of that. You swallowed the entire spork. That's wild. It's not known whether it was an accident or suicide. That would be crazy if it was an accident. How do you even swallow a spork? Like, you have to really push it down there. I don't even know if your body would allow you to do that.
つまり過去5年間必ず死者と行方不明者が一人ずつ出ているわけなんですよね。
そうなります。いえね、私も驚いていますよ。
Yeah, I think that makes like it makes sense because you know you have these you're going if you start going into the creepy things immediately, then there's no like impact. You have no time to build rapport with these characters. You have no time to like build a connection with them. So when stuff does happen, it's like you're meant to feel like Keiichi. You're moving into this town and you get to know these people and everything. And then when stuff goes down, then it's like you're affected just as much as he is. Because it's like you're supposed to have known them.
こんな共通項には気づきませんでした。
I couldn't believe that this could help leading to the closing of these incidents. It was just something they had in common.
例えば鬼隠しにあって失踪した人には何か共通点があるとか。
Uishi-san mumbled as he seemed to be thinking about it. So I summarized the events.
1年目はダムの作業員、2年目は誘致派の男の妻、3年目は神主の妻、4年目は被害者宅の子供で、5年目は交際相手かな。
The victim's family... Wait, what?
特につながりはなさそうだし。
It doesn't seem like there's anything that connects them. This scene right now is episode 2 of the anime. I guess it just skips all the slice of life stuff. Is like the main thing. Because a lot of the slice of life stuff wasn't, technically didn't add on to the entirety of the story, but, the entire thing is to build a relationship with the characters. Is the entire goal, I guess, of it.
1年目はともかく、妻とか交際相手とか、そういう人が目立ち
That's why it doesn't work as well. Yeah, I think that's fair. What important stuff did the anime skip? It does seem like there are a lot. And that means the 4th year's victim child was different. It would have really stood out if they were all married couples, except it's not just married couples, but parents and children as well. Come to think of it, I believe Tomitake-san also told me the younger brother is alive and has moved. If I recall
5年目に
correctly.
行方不明になった子供ってどんなだったんですか？
おとなしい感じの方だったらしいです。年はあなたの一つ上です。
It's Satoshi.
名前は北条聡さん。
サトシ？
I remember that name. Yeah, you better remember that name! Didn't they tell me Satoshi transferred out last
あ
year?
なたの学校に去年まで通っていました。話を聞いていませんか？
Come to think of it, when I transferred in, I believe they said my seat belonged to a recent transfer student. Then, where I sat once belonged to the one who was demoned away? It was his seat? I recall the cold sensation that came from my desk. Made my hair stand on end. Like I said earlier, the scene Mion and Rena were gossiping wasn't... Okay, yeah. I see, okay. The string of mysterious deaths. No. Oyashiro-sama's curse. I now knew how it connected to me. That chilling sensation, it was the feeling of Oyashiro-sama caressing the back of my neck.
お社様のたたりか。
Could Oyashiro-sama's curse really exist? In all honesty, I was beginning to believe it. And I was scared. That was why I wanted to say it was a plot crafted by man and not the work of a curse. But the more I dug into it, the less likely that it seemed. No, the more I dug, the more mysterious it became. If I kept digging, eventually, I'd reach the point where I'd learn something I really shouldn't know. To either be none the wiser or to seek an answer I may regret. Which one would I be happier with? Maybe it'll be me next time. Execution could only be delayed for 1 year. That was when I remembered. Rena. Rena said she may be the next victim of the
竜
curse.
宮レナさんがですか？去年転校されてきた前原さんのクラスメートですよね。女の子には刺激の強い事件ばかりです。怖がるのも無理ないんじゃないでしょうかね。
It wasn't that. She said it might be her next. She said it in a way that made me think she had a concrete reason behind it.
もっと確信じみたものだったように思います。なんていうのか、その。
She was frightened. Her sudden change in demeanor. That someone who looked like Rena, but wasn't Rena. That might be unrelated. All the strange things that I felt from Rena today came back to me.
そうですか。では、こちらでも少し調べてみます。前原さんも少し竜宮さんの様子に注意してあげてください。
それは、レナを見張れってことですか？
そんな意味ではありませんよ、前原さん。お友達が次の被害者にならないよう、少し気にしてあげてほしいということです。
At that moment, just as my mouth was agape because I was so impressed with his mature, clever way with words. Knock, knock. A sudden knock at the door sent my heart racing. In an instant, I had pointlessly covered up the end of the receiver. On the other side of the door, I heard my father's oddly upbeat voice. What could it be? It's so late.
すみません、親父が来ました。今夜はこれくらいでいいですか？
ええ、夜分遅くに本当に申し訳ありませんでしたね。何かわかりましたら教えてください。こちらも進展がありましたらご報告しますよ。では失礼します。
圭一、早く開けてくれ。父さん、両手が塞がってるんだ。
What is Dad doing? I had stayed in the same position while on the phone the whole time, so my joints were aching. What do you mean I stayed in the same position? What were you doing, Keiichi? Were you not just standing up and holding the phone? Were you like curled up on the bed? Like, how are you answering this phone? What do you mean your joints were aching? Are you 70? When I opened the door, I saw my father was standing there with a tray. On that tray, cookies and 2 cups of black tea. Fairly fancy spread for our household. There was even sugar and lemon slices on the side, everything you can ask for. This was quite the show of hospitality.
何父さん。それ、何のつもりだよ。
もう、はぐらかすなよ、ケイイチ。入るぞ。
Dad was in high spirits and had a smirk on his face, but for my entire life I've never seen him act this hospitable. What had gotten into him?
何の話をしてたんだ？
I jumped. Not something I had to keep from my father, but how could I explain to him that I was talking to a detective, I'm assuming he was, this late at night?
別に何も、友達だよ。
電話の話じゃなくて、来てたんだろう、今。レナちゃんが。
来てないよ。
もう、ごまかさなくたっていいぞ。さっきレナちゃんが遊びに来てたじゃないか。だいぶ話し込んでるみたいだったから、お茶でもって思ったら、すれ違いだったんだよ。
I had no idea what Dad was talking about, but a cold sweat dripped down my back.
どのくらい話し込んでたかな。
レナちゃんが2階に上がったのが半くらいだったから、小1時間くらいかな。
2階に上がったの、父さん見たの？
ああ、見たよ。ケイイチの部屋は階段を上がって奥の扉だよって声もかけた。
When I came to my house about an hour ago, Dad met her at the door and called out to me on the second floor. I probably didn't hear him because I was so focused on my conversation with Uishi-san. You were on that phone for over an hour? I didn't reply, but he knew I was in my room, so he had her come inside. Then told her my room was on the second floor. She thanked my dad and went upstairs. Then about an hour passed. She passed by my dad just as he was bringing up tea and left. She came upstairs and about an hour passed. Then passed by my dad and returned home. And then after she came upstairs and until she left. Where was Rena? There's only a short hallway between my room and the stairs, meaning Rena had for about an hour in the hall. She couldn't have been standing in front of my door all that time. The door to my room wasn't particularly thick. You could easily hear everything being said inside. All the unsettling and unregarded things I spoke to Uishi-san about began rushing through my head.
お父さん、あまりからかっちゃダメよ。それより、アトリエを片付けて。またこぼすわよ。
Mom yelled up at Dad from downstairs. Dad left the tray with me and went downstairs with a disappointed chortle. I followed my dad out of the room with my eyes. I looked down at the floor around the hallway where Rena might have stood all that time. Just now, as I was talking to Uishi-san with my back turned, Rena was standing a mere 6 feet away. The whole time? All that time, in this dimly lit doorway. What did she see? What did she hear? For what reason? As the steam from the 2 teacups ominously wafted and twisted, the aroma of black tea filled my room. First time we see Keiichi and it's CG, yeah. Huh. Okay. Lies. Lie to Rena. Interesting. Notice from the police chief. July 1st, 1982. Departments 1 through 12. The Prefectural Police Headquarters. Director General. To the Chief Constable and all facility managers. Regarding cases situated in the Hinamizawa village. As cases in Shishibone City, Hinamizawa village have been reported by certain sections of mass media. It has drawn global attention, which is causing serious repercussions for the local residents. This has become a very serious situation. To protect the livelihood and prosperity of the residents, the following notice has been issued. 1. Designate the following criminal investigations as clarified. Okinomiya Station, 1982, case number blank. Inamizawa Village housewife murder, dated June. Okinomiya Station, 1982, case number. Inamizawa Village student disappearance, dated June blank. Non-disclosure of information. Okinomiya Station, 1979, case number. Inamizawa Village site foreman murder, dated June. Shida Station, 1980, case number. Shirakawa Natural Park falling incident, dated June. Okinomiya Station, 1981, case number. Inamizawa Village Shinto priest's wife disappearance, dated June. 3. Requesting self-restraint from each organization concerning the release of sensitive information. Please see attached reference materials 1, 2, and 3. Management, Prefectural, Police, Headquarters. Internal line, Police Affairs Department. Okay. That was the first, like, oh shit chapter, I would say. The first one. I didn't expect Rena to be, like, standing by the door, though. Interesting to see where this goes from now. Seeing that version of that scene, the anime version of that scene be a good idea. As long as it doesn't go through too fast, I think. I don't mind looking at it. But I feel like you need a lot more context. Like, you need the build up to it, you need the scene, and you need the after. Like, and I feel like that would be a lot. I feel. Oh, you... Okay, okay. So it's basically like you guys were just waiting for the lies thing. The scene was 1:30 in the anime. You can find it. I don't mind looking at it before we move on. Let me find it. What is that? You'll link it? Okay, thank you very much. Okay, there you go. English sub and German sub. You want to see things? Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you for that. So, yeah. How did they know that he was, like, they called him? Okay, yeah. After watching it, I think I like the visual novel more. The main reason I feel like there's no I'll explain to you why. I feel like there's not much tension building up with the thing, and of course maybe I have to see it before, but it feels like the third person aspect, I think it doesn't feel like, yeah, it's more tense in the visual novel, exactly. That's how I feel as well. It's just more tense. And then in terms of the actual voice actor, I can't say if it's better or worse because, you know, it just changed, like it just happened to me, so it's like for me, it felt like the impact of the words, like the way the audio mixing or whatever was done, it sounded like it was more reverberating, you know? Like they had more impact. And it's like, yes, she's yelling in this, but it's like there's no impact to the words other than the yelling part to it, you know? It's just like the mic. They didn't do any mixing to make it like, I guess, hit harder. That I feel it did in the visual novel. But that's what I think. I do think also, like, after the lies, because, you know, she calls lies, and they had another they still had more conversation in the visual novel. They still had more conversation in the visual novel after, but she just calls the lies there, and then, like, says, like, the entire thing is she calls the lies and continues, like, hounding him, you know, like, continues asking him questions, and then after, only he's, like, when he's completely done, he's stuttering, that's when she backs off, when she, like, knows that she has him there. Because it's like she backs off in her own terms. Here it's like she calls lies and then doesn't press him more. Removes it. Yeah, that I guess that's the main thing. But yeah, the fact that or the fact you're in a third. I mean, yeah, that's just the nature of anime. It's going to be third person, which is, I guess, why visual novels may not necessarily transfer over well to anime, because you have that first person perspective and more connection, so things hit harder naturally. Yeah, it is great. So, when you're comparing visual novel to anime, like, if this was made as a anime-only thing, there was no visual novel to compare to, it probably would be really good. But because there's that visual novel comparison, it's, you know, it's like, you would always say, like, oh yeah, the visual novel did it better, I think. Yeah, start on his house. I think that's a good place to start. Weariness and a headache. Not a very nice way to start the day.
どうしたの?
Yeah, that would be always that comparison discussion with adaptations. Exactly, yeah.
ケイチ、今朝は顔色悪いわよ。昨べは何時に寝たの?
It seemed that my mom had noticed my sullen state. Yesterday I kept on waking up in the middle of the night. Without a doubt, I felt a presence. Like the presence of somebody standing in front of my door. I told myself repeatedly that it was my imagination and forced myself to try and sleep. Except not being able to stand it, I gathered up my strength, my courage, and opened the door. Of course, there wasn't anyone there. I think I did this 3 times throughout the night. Maybe I just didn't remember doing it any more than that. Even though I was able to get to the breakfast table without incident, I still didn't feel at ease.
風邪かもしれない。なんだか食欲ないんだ。
あら、ちょっと熱あるんじゃない? どうする? 学校行ける?
Technically, I did go to a school, but it was mostly self-study. Wouldn't matter much if I missed a day, would it? Could have been that I hadn't been feeling well for the last few days because I really did have a cold. I took some medicine and got a good day of rest. I might be able to re-greet everyone with a smile tomorrow. Startled, I looked back and forth between the entrance and the clock. It was 10 minutes later than I usually met up with Rena. It was Rena.
レナちゃん迎えに来ちゃったけど、どうする？お休みする？
Rena was a good girl. She might be somewhat quirky, but she was certainly cute. Why do you say that in this position? What does that mean? Keiichi, please get your priorities straight. The lunches she made were delicious, and she always looked out for me. Why should I be so scared of something like that? It wasn't Rena's fault. It was probably mine. Had to have been my cold. It just had to be.
休む。ごめん。
じゃあ、母さんが断ってきてあげるわね。
Mom headed off to the door. Would have to pass by the entrance to get back to my room. Didn't have the nerve to meet with Rena, so I wrapped myself in a blanket on the sofa and closed my eyes. I was so sleep deprived I fell into a deep slumber. I'd only intended to lie down for a bit, but it was almost noon when I woke up. I called out to my parents, but they didn't seem to be around. On the table I found lunch prepared and a note. Mom and Dad had apparently driven off somewhere far away. Likely had to do with Dad's work. This happened every so often, so it wasn't that unusual. We'll be back for dinner, but might be a bit late. In the note it said, "The insurance card is on the cabinet. Take it and go to the hospital." There's also a well-drawn map to the hospital. That's right. I hadn't been there before, so I didn't know exactly where it was. I had a light lunch, although it was really just leftovers from the morning. And just in case, went to the hospital. I would be too freaked out to leave my house if what was happening. I would not leave my house. I would just be waiting for my parents to come back. And I wouldn't do anything. Like, I would not be leaving. I would lock all my doors, like, barricade the windows. Like, I'm not even joking. If what just happened there happened to me IRL, I would be so freaked out. I would not want to interact with anyone. I could not go outside. Maybe should have been nicer to her. I don't think being nicer to her would have changed her reaction, sadly. Normally, I'd never be here in the middle of a weekday. Just walking around like this had me feeling guilty. It was an odd feeling. Following my mom's map, I took a road I usually never used. After walking for a bit, the hospital sign came into view. Iria Clinic was written rather stylishly on the sign. The clinic wasn't very big, but based on the scale of the rest of Hinamizawa, it was far too grand. There was a parking lot and even a reserve spot for buses. Must be making a mint. I spaced out in the air-conditioned waiting room until it was my turn to be seen.
前原さん、診察室へどうぞ。
After half-heartedly answering all the chatty doctor's questions, he responded with the old, "It's probably a cold." They gave me a shot and 3 days worth of medicine. I'm really glad, by the way, that I went to sleep last night, because it definitely, I would not be able to have the full, like, appreciation of the scene that I did, you know, today. Compared to last night, where I was barely making my way through stuff. They gave me a shot and 3 days worth of medicine. Thought it was a little overboard, but if it would clear away the gloomy feeling I'd been having lately, then it was worth it. I settled the bill and took a quick trip to the washroom. As I was leaving, I overheard a conversation between some elderly people who seemed to be regulars at the clinic. Of course, I had no intention of eavesdropping, if it wasn't just for that word.
やっぱりOnikakushiかいね。
どうかね。まだまだ若い子だけゃ。駆け落ちかもしられへん。どこの誰とよ。季節のたびに東京もんが来ちょったろ。でっけえカメラ持った若者が。 あれと仲が良きゃったって話、知られへんの？
We're talking about Tomitake-san? Could feel my ears perking up.
そら知らんけど。でも、普通書き落ちっても仁義あるだろう。書き置きとか辞表とか書かんかいね。
すったらん書かんから駆け落ち言うんね。
わきゃ看護師さんの顔見られんようなるんは寂しいね。
高野さんはしっかり者よ。どこへ行ってもやっていけろん。
So her name was Takano-san. That woman with Tomitake-san. And she worked at this clinic? Where Yashiro-sama's shadow was following me, everywhere I went. I started listening more closely, but they began talking about fishing. It didn't seem like they were going to revisit the topic. I gave up and left. Thus, even though I was separated from the daily monotony of school, I wasn't able to escape from Oyashiro-sama's shadow. But of course, Oyashiro-sama was the guardian deity of this place, of Hinamizawa. As long as I was in Hinamizawa, I wouldn't be able to escape. Maybe it was because I was walking outside, but my appetite had suddenly returned. Might as well buy a snack with a change from the examination fee on the way home. Contemplating that, I turned onto a familiar street. Oh, at that moment I heard a car horn abruptly honk behind me. Was I really walking so far in the middle of the road where I'd be in a car's way? I moved farther off to the side, but the horn was still honking at me. I turned around, peeved. It was Uishi-san. He stepped out of his car, AC on full blast, and waved at me.
今日はどうしたんです？学校はお休みですか？
ちょっと体調悪かったんで、今日は休みました。お昼を買って帰ろうとしてたところです。
そりゃよかった。実は私、お昼に行こうとしてたんですよ。よかったらご一緒にいかがです？ああ、お体に触るようでしたら構いませんよ。
I was just gonna lie down after going home anyway. And I didn't really have a cold.
地元の食堂だと嫌でしょう。町まで行きましょう。ちょっと走りますがよろしいですかな？
Well, okay, I know it's like this guy's kind of like the only person you can trust right now, but he's still kind of a stranger, you know? You still really get into strangers' cars and just like say, oh yeah, I'll go with you to a random undisclosed, I mean, it's town, but you know, it's not really, you can't get back by yourself.
私、おいしいお店知ってるんですよ。
I finally begun to understand Uishi-san's roundabout way of saying things. He probably wanted to talk to me about stuff that would be difficult to discuss while in Hinamizawa. I went with Uishi-san riding in his frigid car. It was almost as if the bright sunlight outside was a lie.
ゆうべは遅くまですみませんでしたね。ご家族に怒られませんでしたか？
いえ。
I recalled Rena, who had been listening to the phone conversation all that time, separated from me just by the door. Even now, in the brightness of the sunlight, the thoughts still creeped me out. With a big bump that jolted the car, the road connecting to the city changed from dirt to pavement. My head swiveled back with a sudden realization. That's right. This was where Tomitake-san died.
富武さんの捜査は暗礁に乗り上げています。
Uishi-san spoke while peering at me from the corner of his eye.
自分の爪で喉をかき破るという異常さから、幻覚作用のある何らかの薬物によるものだと信じているのですが、こういう症状、それも急激に引き起こす薬物は。
Yeah, I can't imagine that any drug or what like, would cause someone to claw their throat out. That just is not something people do. Like, you don't turn crazy when you're on like any type of drug, right? Like, you still have your sense of self, mostly. Like, you still know not to harm yourself, mostly. You do, but most, like, people don't claw their throat out when on drugs, no matter what drugs. There are hallucinogens and there are a bunch of, like, stuff, but nothing makes you do something that ridiculous.
もちろん検視解剖もそれを念頭に置いて十分に行ったのですが、手がかりはやはりありませんでした。
漫画なんかによくあるじゃないですか。体内に取り込まれると分解したりして証拠が何も残らないなんて、そんな薬
ありますよ。塩化搾取何でしたっけ。まあ結構あります。でもですね、富武さんのような症状を引き起こす薬物にはそういうものはないそうなんですよ。
じゃあ警察は富武さんはたたりで死んだってそう言うんですか。
I couldn't help but feel that the police were worthless. I just wanted the idea of a curse to be disassociated from Tomitake-san's mysterious death. Like, maybe there are drugs that make you harm things. Maybe there are drugs that make you harm yourself. Maybe there are drugs that make you, like, not coherent. But there is nothing even close to what was explained here. Like, nothing even close to that.
悔しいですが今のところは。ですが死因はともかく、死ぬ前に何人かの人間に囲まれて暴行を受けたことだけは間違いありません。たたりでなく人間が事件に関わっているのは疑いようがありませんよ。
That made me a bit relieved. We passed in front of the rather desolate, but still busier than Hinamizawa, train station. The car pulled into a restaurant parking lot, and I followed Uishi-san into the shop. It was pretty crowded, but there were only adults at this hour. Of course, there would be children in here in the middle of a weekday.
2名です。タバコは、我慢します。
こちらへどうぞ。ご注文がお決まりになりましたらお呼びください。
We were led by a peculiar dressed waitress to our table. I sat with Uishi-san in the booth.
どうです？このお店のウェイトレスさんの格好、可愛らしいと思います。
This is a character?
まあどうでしょうね。
このお店ね、いっつも大人気なんですよ。お料理よりもウェイトレスさんがね。
Dude, like, you're like 50, dude. Like, you need to... You're... Not only are you 50, you're talking to a minor.
ああ、大石さん、目がやらしいですよ。
そうですか
Yeah. Dessert menu? $3 for a chocolate cake? Man. Finishing our meals while talking about some inane topic, Uishi-san's after-meal cup of coffee arrived at the table.
ひなみ沢の昔話が出ましたよね。
ええ、人食い鬼の里だって言われてたって話でしたっけ？
私もあんまり詳しい方じゃないので、うちのばあ様に今朝ちょっと聞いてみたんです。
Uishi-san took out the notepad that was stuffed into his breast pocket.
なんでもですね、大昔はひなみ沢は鬼ヶ淵って呼ばれてたんだそうです。
鬼ヶ淵、すごい名前ですね。
So, the village that was in real life that Higurashi was based on, does that have any like name about like demons or anything like that, or is it just like just physically it was modeled after that village?
今でもその名前残ってるんですよ。神主の妻が受水自殺した沼の名前は今でも鬼ヶ淵というんです。
Not that I know physically it is. Okay.
沼の底の底は鬼たちの住む国とつながっていると言われてたんだそうです。
Of course, nobody had told me anything about such an ominous swamp.
でですね、鬼ヶ淵は 恐れられていたと同時に崇められてもいたんだそうです。
Respect born of fear. So you could say it was a kind of deification. A village of inhuman
鬼た
creatures.
ちはある種の仙人でもあったらしいんですよ。例えば不治の病にかかった村人を鬼ヶ淵に運んで治してもらったりとかしたんだそうです。
Even if we are calling them demons, Tengu, long-nosed goblins, or Sennin, or Tengu, long-nosed goblins, or Sennin would be a more apt
鬼
description.
って言ってもそんなに悪い人たちじゃないみたいですね。
でもそこはやっぱり人食い鬼らしいんです。ばあ様に聞いた昔話ではですね、息子を治療してもらった代償として連れてきた母親を食わせろとこうなるらしいんですよ。
息子を治療してもらった対価が自分ですか？それは怖いな。
もちろん母親は息子を連れて逃げます。これをですね、鬼ヶ淵に住む村人鬼たちがですね、全員で追いかけて取り囲んで捕まえたんです。
So yeah, this is what I assumed they're trying to say like everyone in the village are demons. But that's what they've been saying since last chapter. Or like, not saying necessarily outright, but we've been commenting on it. The entire village, apparently. It's quite a frightening thing to imagine.
結局母親も息子も捕まって食べられちゃったんだそうです。おしまい。
その話矛盾がありますよ。当事者の2人が食べられちゃったんですから、その話が残るはずがありません。
ありゃ。昔話はこういうの多いですよね。
In contrast to the ghastly tale, Uishi-san laughed heartily while sipping his coffee.
でもですね、他の昔話にも結構あるらしいんですよ。鬼ヶ淵の鬼たちが総出で獲物を捕まえに来るというのは。
I recall that Mion said all the villagers united and fought against the dam construction. I saw similarities with how that part about unification overlapped.
鬼たちの獲物は常に一人で、しかも前もって決められているらしいんです。
え？
That caught my attention. Uishi-san also appeared to be pondering what it meant.
ばあ様が言うにはですね、鬼の狩りの時には絶対に邪魔をしてはいけない。家に閉じこもって布団をかぶってろって言うんです。
つまりどういうことですか？
獲物の人を助けたりかくまったりしてはいけないんだそうです。鬼の狩りを邪魔しない限り村人には危害を加えない、そういうルールなんだそうです。
Basically, don't help the victims. Pretend you didn't see the atrocities. In other
ル
words,
ールを破ったらどうなるんです？
so that's why they're not telling us.
さあ、何しろ人食い鬼ですからね。
Many parts of that tale caught my attention. Parts of the story he told me overlapped with his theory that the entire village was in on the crime. Even if it wasn't the whole village, it was conceivable that the villagers were hiding under the covers and leaving them to die. When there's a group that was on their hunt, wasn't it? I didn't dare speak it.
じゃあ大石さんはやっぱり村ぐるみもしくは村人数人の犯行だと見てるんですね。
前原さんはどう思います？ああ、すみません。
What?
コーヒーのおかわりいいですか？
That's what I wanted to know. It seemed that we were both waiting for the other to say that last part. He waited for the waitress to finish pouring the coffee before speaking.
去年、サトシ君が失踪した頃から、私は不審に感じていたんです。
Uishi-san muttered as he watched the milk swirl around in his coffee.
それで、サトシさんのお友達、つまり、前原さんのお友達グループの皆さんを、ちょっぴりだけ、本当にちょっぴりだけですよ。調べさせてもらったんです。
Uishi-san has said this to me before. I would have gotten angry at him for calling my friends into question. But as I was now,
とてもつまらない話になります。前原さんがつまらないと感じたらいつでもおっしゃってください。終わりにしますので。
Uichi-san was wearing the most serious expression that I'd ever seen from him. It was as if he was telling me to prepare myself and listen. There were quite a few things I regretted hearing from Uishi-san, but none of that were as threatening as this. A little voice inside of me was screaming like an alarm. Stop, Keiichi. This was probably the last one. I took a deep breath and silenced that voice. I would not run from the truth. That was all I could utter. Uishi-san stared into my eyes silently for a few moments. After he was certain I was ready, he began.
1年目の事件の被害者は現場の監督さんだったんですが、事件の数週間前に園崎美音さんと取っ組み合いをしてるんですよ。何度か。
Uishi-san has said before that Mion had defied the dam project vehemently. Well, it wasn't hard to imagine how she'd been if she got worked up.
2年目の事件で誘致派の夫婦が事故に遭いましたよね。現場にはお嬢さんも一緒にいたんです。それが北条聡子さんなんです。
え？聡子って、聡子？
Uishi-san's look told me that my voice was too loud. I realized it as well and quickly quieted
3
down.
年目には神主夫婦が亡くなられますよね。そのお嬢さんが古出里香さんです。
里香ちゃんが
？4年目に亡くなった主婦はもうわかりますね。北条聡子さんの義理のおばです。当時は聡子さんはご両親を事故で失っていましたので預けられていたのです。被害者宅に。
So... was in her aunt's and uncle she had lost both her... So, her parents supported the project. So, but... even though they supported the project, Satoko... the... daughters... or sorry, not the group still welcomes Satoko, even though they... I could tell my lips were getting dry. I didn't even have the wits to keep my mouth from hanging agape. I thought there was nothing but a bizarre incident, one that I could easily distance myself from. But clicking and clacking, it had snuck all the way to my feet.
4年目に失踪した北条聡さんは、聡子さんの実の兄になります。
Wait, Satsuko is just getting... Okay.
待ってください。
It took everything I had to finally say that. I gulped down a glass of water and once again wiped my face with a napkin. Calm down, Keiichi Maibara. But Uishi-san was relentless. Instead of waiting for me to finish sorting out my feelings, he started speaking again. The last of the things I shouldn't have heard.
被害者たちはなぜかあなたのお友達グループに全てつながるのです。
偶然に決まってるじゃないですか。
前原さん、静かに。
Listen, I understand they're related to my group of friends, but 3 of them, no, was had to do with Satoko.
みんな見てますよ。
Mion? Satoko? Rika-chan? So what if they're connected? You're telling me all of my friends? It couldn't be. It just couldn't be. Oh, Rena's different, isn't she? Rena isn't connected with the victims at all.
竜宮レナさんは、去年まで茨城の郊外にお住まいでした。まあ確かに、いずれの被害者とも直接の面識はありませんが。
You said it in a roundabout way. Is he saying she's also connected?
実は、調べてみたら、竜宮さんは引っ越しの少し前に、
There
学
was
校で謹慎処
the
分を受けているんですよ。
murder at the beginning of the game. The very, very beginning of the game.
なんでも、学校中のガラスを割って回ったんだとか。
レナが学校中のガラスを割った？
That same spacey Rena had... I couldn't even imagine it.
3日間の謹慎が明けた後も復学しなかったようです。その間に神経科に通院し、自律神経失調症と診断され、何
Dysautonomia.
週間かの間、投薬と医師によるカウンセリングを受けています。
Dysautonomia. Disrupts autonomic body processes. Disruptive systems, so... Describes... Okay, so it just basically malfunctions the nervous system, from what I understand? Yeah, the function of the heart, bladder, intestines, sweat glands, pupils, blood vessels. Okay. Wonder if it was something like a nervous breakdown. I heard that it happened to people who are really methodical or overly sensitive. Neither of those matched Rena's easygoing
で
personality.
ですね。そのカウンセリングをした医師のカルテに、レナさんの会話内容が記載されているんですがね。その中に出てくるんですよ。結構。
何がです？
I pressed forward carelessly. There couldn't be anything more for me to
出
regret.
てくるんですよ。お社様って単語が。
It felt like someone's stone-cold hand was caressing my back. Why? Why had Rena spoken of Oyashiro-sama before she even came to
お
Hinamizawa?
社様っていう幽霊みたいなものがですね、夜な夜な自宅にやってくるっていうんですよ。枕元に立って自分を見下ろすんだって。
My mind froze. I couldn't process what I was being told.
その後、しばらくしてひなみ沢に引っ越されたんです。ああ、そうそう。レナさんは、よそ者なんかじゃないですよ。
え？
住民票で分かったんですが、竜宮一家は元はひなみ沢の住人です。
I really dislike... I mean, I don't dislike... It's a very unsettling piece of music. When it just comes on randomly.
レナさんがちょうど小学校に上がるときに、茨城へ引っ越されたんです。
My mind went completely blank. It was similar to the static you'd see on a blank TV channel. My ears began ringing as I lost all sense of
前
comprehension.
原さん、大丈夫ですか？もう終わりにしましょうか。
Those words brought me back. I couldn't let it end here.
レナのことは分かりました。じゃあ、最後の被害者の富武さんはどうなんですか？誰と接点があるんですか？
He was connected with you, Keiichi. Irritated, I let out one final reprisal.
全員ですよ。お忘れですか、前原さん。みんなで楽しくお祭りの晩を過ごしたじゃないですか。何人もの警官が皆さんの楽しそうな様子を見ていますよ。
Now there was nothing I could respond with. I fell silent as my brain turned to mush.
そろそろ出ましょう。ああ、前原さん。お昼の薬は飲みましたか？
I had completely forgotten about the medicine I'd gotten today until Uishi-san said that. I got another glass of water and we left the shop after I chugged it down. We got in the car and returned to Hinamizawa via the rough road. I never really paid attention when I was on my bike, but did cars normally shake this much? It was almost as if the road was desperately, trying to tell me something. A dump. That big jolt was from the difference in elevation of the road when it changed from cement to dirt. I was certain that I heard Tomitake-san scream. I sat in silence, just letting myself be shaken
お
by
家
the
の前
car.
まで送りましょう。今日は病気でお休みだったんですよね。長々とお話ししてしまって申し訳ありませんでした。
なんで俺に話すんですか？
I blurted out the question. Really just blurted it out. I didn't expect an answer.
私、一応確認しましたよね。お話やめましょうかって。
じゃなくて、どうして俺に接触してきたんですか？
I understood quite well that Uichi-san was investigating this string of suspicious incidents. But why was he telling me all this? I knew nothing and I couldn't help. Everything Uichi-san spoke of was news to me. First off, what could I, having just moved here, possibly know? By chance, if there was a reason for Uichi-san to reach out of me, then it would have to be... That was part of me on circles of friends, who looked suspicious to Uichi-san.
私ね、今年で定年なんです。
Oh, you see, I said 50 because I thought he was not near retiring age. So you're actually 65. At minimum.
定年したらばあ様の意向で引っ越しちゃう予定なんですよ。だからこそ在職中にこの事件だけははっきりさせておきたかったんです。
で、大石さんは疑ってるんですよね。
But suspect them of what?
みんなを。
Uishi-san didn't really give them a response, or give a response. Like, they're the ones who killed everyone else? Like, he said he suspects them, but he didn't say what he suspects them of. What do you think it is? My, like, initial thought, right, before, was that, oh, you know, they killed them. Like, they're the ones doing the killings. Like, that was my very, very, like, beginning first thought, like, before we even got into the, like, the creepy stuff or whatever, you know? But now, I really don't think so. I think they're trying to avoid this curse. I think that they're not talking about these things because they do not want, like they're not talking about it with me because they don't, I can't remember what exactly he said was, but it's like, if you talk about it for the demon and everything, then, I don't think I have it here anymore. I think that's too far back. But it's like, if you talk about it, then if you are hindering the demon if you talk about it. And you're helping if you're just not talking about it. I can't remember exactly what the words were, but it was something like that, right? So that's the reason they're not telling him. Because, so they want this stuff to go away as well. So I think it's, this, personally, leads me to believe more in line that it has to do with the curse. Rather than some real-life event, or like real-life killings that's happening. Like, yeah.
これはこの道30年の勘です。
Wait, 30 years on the job. That means you are like 50. Wow, you're retiring early.
前原さん、危ないのはあなたなんですよ。
I wanted to reply with, that's absurd, but my downtrodden state... In my downtrodden state, I couldn't bring myself to say it.
私は今年で定年ですから、来年の綿流しの日にはもういません。だから、今年中に決着をつけたいのです。
In other words, he was insinuating that on the next Watanagashi, I might be the next victim.
所長からも注意を受けています。一連の事件は個々に解決しているから、蒸し返すな、と言うんです。
And it could also be, I mean, I can't see the exact words, so I don't know exactly. That could also be the reason they're not telling him. Because if he finds out, he could be at risk. But if he doesn't find out, he could be saved. I would think. I just don't know why Rena had to get so That's the thing. Rena's reaction I don't get. Why does she have to act like that?
これは一種の圧力です。
圧力って何のですか？
ひなみ沢の誰かですよ。着きました。この辺でいいですか？
After some time, the car finally reached the path to my house. The clock read 2 p.m. I was surprised so little time had passed since we ate. It was hot outside the car. The chirping of the Higurashi hurt my ears.
今日の話はすべて忘れてくださっても結構です。ですが、私は捜査を続けますよ。お社様のたたりは今年で終わらせます。
何かあったら連絡しろってことですか？
いいんですよ。前原さんがどうしても連絡したくなった時だけでいいんです。
I wasn't collected enough to understand Uishi-san's roundabout way of saying it.
ゆっくり休んでください。病気でお休みの時に良くない話ばかりして申し訳ありませんでしたね。
I didn't really give any sort of response.
私はいつでもあなたの味方です。それだけは信じといてくださいよ。それじゃあ、失礼。
The tires crunched over the dirt road as the car made... Thing is, this doesn't look like a dirt road to me. This looks like a pretty well-paved road, doesn't it? As the car made a U-turn and disappeared into a cloud of kicked-up dust. Felt like I was watching a boat only throw me a lifesaver in shark-infested waters before disappearing into the distance. That was the first time I thought Uishi-san was being unfair. Telling me I was going to be the next victim, then just saying to contact him if something happened. This wasn't a criminal investigation. He was fishing. And I was just the bait dangling off the line. Would the fish be the perpetrator? Or was it really just Oyashido-sama's curse? Either way, the bait would be swallowed whole.
畜生。俺、死にたくないよ。
For some time, I could do nothing but stare at the puddle of water left behind by the AC from the car. I wonder how much time had passed since I laid down. It was getting dark outside. My body was soaked in sweat. It would probably be a good day to change my sheets. Are you still alone in the house? It's probably Mom. Mom was quite the worrywart. Maybe she had called many times, but I just didn't notice.
もしもし、前原ですけど。
Okay. Music is happy.
お、生きてた。もしもーし。
Oh, okay, there's Mion.
ミオンだけど、具合はどう？
圭一のお友達ですか？圭一は休んでますけど。変わりましょうか？
え？あ、お父様で？すみません。
バカで引っかかってやがるよ。
じゃん。
After our exchange, we both had a good laugh together, except I was suspicious of her even as we were laughing. Was everybody really involved in the incidents? The fact that I couldn't say no saddened
元
me.
気そうで安心したよ。レナもすっごく心配してたよ。サトコはざまあないですわって喜んでたな。リカちゃんは病気でかわいそうですってさ。
チェ、みんなで勝手に大盛り上がりしてたみたいだな。
まあまあ。でさ、ケンちゃん、お見舞いに行っちゃ都合悪いかな。
お見舞い？いいよそんな。重病人ってわけじゃないんだから。
うちのバッチャが山ほどおはぎを作ってさ、お裾分けに持ってけって言ってんだよ。
Dude, I would definitely give it a day break. I would say like, yeah, don't come over, please. I'm begging you. I wouldn't say that, obviously, but I would imply that it would probably not be a good idea to visit. I would need a day to process everything that's been happening. Why? I would need a break. Maybe that's just me. And I'm not someone that can, like... I just can't take this, like, stuff like this. you know. But I would be like, yeah, I'm too sick. Please don't come by. You'll get sick and something else like that. And then it's just like wait a day before doing anything.
だから持ってくね。
おいおい、風が移っても知らねえぞ。
おじさんもレナもおバカさんだから大丈夫。じゃね、すぐ行くから。
She hung up cheerfully. Rena's coming too. That's what it sounded like. I was still concerned about meeting Rena, but I guess if she was with Mion... No! The entire group knows because Rena told them! Or the doorbell 10 minutes later.
どんな感じ？ちゃんと薬飲んで寝てた？
そりゃもうしっかりとな。
元気そうでよかった。心配してたんだよ。
What's up?
悪かったな。
Tell the tutor after one serious What do you mean serious conversation? She literally yelled at me, threatened me, okay? Like she didn't outwardly threaten me, but she very clearly implied threatening there, okay? And then they're talking about murders, and these guys being suspects in murders, okay? There's some curse happening. Like, it's not just a serious conversation. We're talking about me dying over here. Mion showed a complete lack of concern for someone who's recovering, and Rena looked like she was worried about me from the bottom of her heart. It didn't look like there was anything behind those expressions.
ちょっとお邪魔しようかと思ったけど、まだ本調子じゃないみたいだね。
そうか?
Seemed like my face appeared a bit sullen.
じゃあこれ、ケイチくん、みーちゃんのおばあちゃんが作ってくれたおはぎだよ。
Rena held out the package wrapped in newspaper. Might be about 5 in here. It was quite hefty.
サンキューな。ミオンのばあちゃんによろしく伝えといてくれよ。
その中にね、レナが作ったのも混じってるんだよ。ケイチくんに見つけられるかな。
これ、今日の部活を欠席したケイちゃんへの宿題ね。おはぎにアルファベットがついてるから、明日回答すること。
お見舞いなのか部活なのか、どっちかにしろ。
元気元気。これなら明日は大丈夫そうだね。
この騒ぎで熱がぶり返したらどうしてくれんだよ、まったく。
みーちゃん、あんまり騒いじゃ悪いよ。もう行こう。お家の人にも怒られるよ。
Both of them thought my parents were home. It was because the entranceway was a mess.
そうだね。もう行こっかね。あ、そうそう、ケイちゃん。
なんだよ。
Yeah, I had a feeling something was gonna happen.
お昼、何食べた？
The sudden question startled me, and I went wide-eyed when I saw Mion. I'd never seen her like that. It was a highly unsettling visage. Why, she asked me about what I ate for lunch. What she said was so inane it was almost meaningless. The way she said it was almost like she didn't even care at all about what I ate.
表で食べたよ。
She must have suspected I was with Uishi-san. Anyway, I felt like if I hesitated or tried to change the subject, then they'd read too deep into it. So I tried answering as quickly as possible. Except, contrary to the efforts I had made, there was a pause before they replied.
ケイチくん、お昼は外食だったんだね。
The glimmer from Rena's eyes had changed at some point as well. It was now sharp, as if to make me feel the feigned ignorance behind her words even more. As if she already knew. That's how it looked to me.
どう？美味しかった？
なんでそんなことを聞くんだよ。
Mion was speaking in an unusually low tone, almost as if she knew that I'd eaten at the restaurant in town. No, I'm overthinking this. I mean, both of them should have been in school at lunchtime. There's no way they could have known where I was.
渋いおじさまとご一緒だったみたいだけど。誰？
The package with the mochi I was holding slipped out of my hands. I could tell the blood had drained from my face, making me go pale.
へえ、ケイチくん、それ誰？ひょっとして、この間の人かな？かな？
I could feel the back of my throat going dry. This was no longer a bluff. They knew everything.
なんでそんなこと わかるんだよ。
Took everything I had to finally force those words from my throat. My knees were shaking.
さてね、おじさんにわからないことはないからね。
Mion sneered knowingly, and her laugh seemed to carry on forever.
ケイちゃん、何のお話をしてたの？ずいぶんと熱くなってたみたいだけど。
みんなの話はしてないよ。ミオンともレナとも関係ない。
聞いてもないのにレナたちの名前が出るなんて、なんだか怪しいな。
Rena's unwavering gaze pierced through my eyes and peered further inside of me. I dug my own grave. My heart was throbbing so much it felt like it was going to explode.
何を隠れてやろうとも、おじさんにはすべてお見通しってこと。それだけを忘れないでくれればいいかな。
I couldn't even shake my head. It took everything I had to stop my teeth from chattering. She never let her gaze break from mine, even as she tilted her head
ケイ
slightly.
チ君、顔色悪いよ。もう横になった方がいいと思うな。
そうだね。私たちはもう帰ろう。
As if nothing had happened, they both giggled at each other and started making their way out. I hadn't moved a muscle since I had dropped the package of mochi. As they left, the door slowly closed behind them. All I could do was stare, as if I couldn't move until the door was completely closed. Just as the door was just about closed, it opened again slightly with a sudden creak, sending my heart racing once again. A single eye peered through that narrow slit, and Mion's hawkish gaze peered at me once again.
じゃあね、ケイちゃん。
あ、
明日、学校休んじゃ嫌だよ。
Thud. The door closed. I wasn't able to move a muscle even after their low laughter died off into the distance, and silence once again enveloped the room. Coming back to my senses, the first thing I did was lock the door. They knew what Oishi-san and I talked about. Why? How? No, that wasn't important. Thinking about it now, all of it could have been overheard from the beginning, when Oishi-san met me. Just as Mion said, I couldn't hide anything. Then what were they trying to tell me? That part was obvious? They were warning me not to say anything unnecessary? What did they deem unnecessary? I only talked with Oishi-san about the one thing. And they were warning me that was unnecessary? What was it that Oishi-san talked to me about? The incidents involving Oyashiro-sama's curse that occurred every year weren't individual cases, but were connected as a whole? As well as the fact there may be multiple perpetrators hidden within Hinamizawa? No, more precisely, that Mion, Rena, Satoko, and Rika-chan were all suspicious? Is that what they're all warning me against?
何バカなこと考えてんだよ。俺。
I hit my own face hard enough that it let out a loud slap. If only that would wake me from this nightmare, but for some reason it felt like I was punching a blanket. It was almost laughably painless. Calm down, Keiichi Maebara. When did I become such a pessimist? Calm down. Calm down. Settle down and sort things out. The reason Mia knew I was eating lunch with Oishi-san was probably because somebody from Hinamizawa just happened to be there at the time. They must have told Mia that I was there. That made the most sense. Plus, come to think of it, she didn't ask me where I ate lunch, did she? She only asked, was it good? We were just curious since I was together with someone not from Hinamizawa. It's not as if they had any ulterior motives. That's it. That has to be it. Thinking about it that way, it was the same with Rena. I was just being strangely ambiguous when I met with Oishi-san, and Rena was just correcting me on that. That's when I was bewildered by the change in character from the usual mild-mannered Rena, and was just startled by it. That's the most natural way of thinking about it. Felt like my own mind was mixed up in a tangled mess of spaghetti. Deep red marinara sauce would have been poured out of my nose and ears if you squeezed my head. Thinking that, I suddenly felt like vomiting. I really didn't want it to happen, so I stopped holding my head. Lately, I had no idea what anyone was saying. Spending time with them was fun. It didn't feel like there was any sort of hidden agenda. I really do think they're a good bunch of people. When I just moved here and I couldn't make heads or tails or anything, they were really kind to me. Rena was really kind and always looked after me. As long as that strange affliction didn't rear its ugly head, she was really pretty cute. I can't believe he can say that in this situation. Mia's also a really good person. She didn't care about anyone's age or gender and was optimistic and outgoing. I was never bored with her. And talking of not getting bored, rambunctious Satoko was a good person for that too. She was pretty bratty, but that was just the way she interacted with others. Rika-chan was the same way. She didn't speak often, but that didn't mean she was always silent. They're my friends. But after hearing the better of untold secrets of Hinamizawa from Uishi-san and Tomitake-san, when I was told about Oyashiro-sama's curse, things started going crazy. Then, hearing from Oishi-san that Mion, Rena, Satoko, and Rika-chan were all suspicious, after that, everyone changed. That's right. It all started getting weird after Uishi-san told me all the strange stuff. At that time, I really should have just not listened to those weird stories. I shouldn't have even have asked Tomitake-san about the past incidents on the night of the Watanagashi. If I just hadn't gotten that strange sense of curiosity, if I just hadn't... That's right. So that's why they killed Tomitake-san. That impudent outsider speaking to the likes of me after everyone went out of the way to keep it a secret from me. They'll probably kill Uishi-san as well, for trying to unearth what everybody was warning me was better left buried. Besides that, he was unforgivable for spewing words that made me doubt others. Of course, a guy like that is going to be killed. Both Tomitake-san and Uishi-san were nothing but outsiders after all. They were both entities who couldn't coexist with the people of Hinamizawa. Those guys should just fall to Oyashiro-sama's curse and just die. It wasn't their fault. It was my fault for not being able to hold back my curiosity. It wasn't their fault. 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 Settled into a daze. It was a lethargic feeling like I'd just gotten up. The ominous chill that haunted me had subsided. I was fine now. I was no longer frightened. I completely recovered. I'll go to school tomorrow, right as rain. I'll greet everyone. I'll take part in club activities. It'll definitely be fun. It had to be fun. I was one of them, after all.
ああ、そうだ。おはぎ食べないと。
What, the mochi's gonna have something like written on them. What is it gonna be
どれ
written?
がレナの手作りか当てないといけないんだよな。
Okay. On the mod menu, let me see. I got that. Gameplay. Graphics. Audio. Troubleshooting. It's on the proper setting, actually. Okay. I remember the homework the two brought with them when they visited me. But wow. Our club did delivery. That was something else. Picked up the package, I dropped on the floor and headed into the living room. It would be nice, I guess, to have some tea with it. To fill my mouth with mochi while drinking the tea. Oh. This was quite a delectable situation I was in. Opening up the newspaper wrapping, there were 5 plump red bean paste mochi fit snugly inside. There were letters written from left to right on the newspaper. A, B, C, D, and E. Now then, they said Rena made one of these. I wonder which one it was. There wasn't much difference in how they looked. Dude, is she gonna put, like, broken glass in one of them or something? They smelled and appeared about the same. This was a pretty difficult problem. The biggest difference was probably their shape. I wasn't sure what kind of person Mion's grandmother was, but Rena's had to be different from hers. Looking carefully, I could see one mochi that was made very neatly. So with that, just by staring at it, one could tell that it stood
この
out.
一個がレナのか否かが勝負の分かれ目みたいだな。
Calm down and think even harder. Mion had said that her grandmother made a ton of them and was told to give some out, if I remembered correctly. That meant 4 of these were from that large batch. And what about Rena? She probably only made 1. She probably spent quite a bit of time on it, meaning the one Rena had made was this one. E. For a moment I thought it may have been a trap Mion laid as she knew I'd pick it up on it. That probably wasn't the case. I wouldn't be so sure if I knew Mion had made it, but since she said Rena made it, it probably wasn't a trap.
よし。お茶も準備 OK。まずはディフェンディングチャンピオンのミオンのばあちゃんからだ。どれ
Not bad. The smooth bean paste and soft, chewy texture left little to be desired. The tea I drank afterwards also accentuated the experience. This was an exquisite piece of work. Until he eats Rena's, I'm not trusting it. I mean, like, I would squish it first, like, you know, see if there's anything inside of it, because I'm not trusting it. Creation was so delicate, one would think that there's a high-class Japanese dessert. Since I normally had quite the appetite, I was slightly worried about the size of the portion. But, well, first a bite. It was quite a difficult one to judge, actually. The ingredients were exactly the same, but there was little difference in flavor. What was different was how it was shaped at the end, so it was to be expected. So the deciding factor would be presentation and volume. The well-formed and well-sized champion versus Rena the challenger, with the size you just couldn't get enough of. That's not Rena's. Rena's a different one. I'd only had one bite of Rena's. I'd probably have to wait until after I was done eating to make my decision. Maybe there was something hidden inside that could cause an upset. Oh no, okay, it is. My prediction was right. My tongue touched something. It didn't feel like something edible, so I reached in with my fingers and grabbed it. What? What was this? Before I could fully comprehend what it was, I threw away the rest of the mochi I was eating as fast as I could. It slammed against the wall, causing the bean jam to splatter. Then after sticking for a moment, it slid down to the floor. I was dumbstruck by my own actions. What was I doing? Ren had gone out of her way to make it for me. How could I? Dumbstruck, I looked at the hand that performed such a vile act, and I remembered what I'd taken out of my mouth. At first I thought it was a hair. Even though it was shorter than Mion's, Rena's hair was still quite long. It wasn't this short. It was also a bit too hard to be hair. It was thick enough to roll around on my tongue. There was a bit of metallic sheen on one end, and yes, there was a hole for where a thread goes through, like a sewing needle. Yes, that's right. It looked very much like a sewing needle. Exactly like one. The end was pointed as well, quite sharply. It really did look like a sewing needle. Huh? What did I mean by looked very much by a sewing needle just a bit ago? Couldn't answer. But a voice inside me already knew and let me know by chattering my molars together. I couldn't stave off the terror welling up inside me. Suddenly I tasted something metallic and felt a prickling pain at the back of my throat. I stuck my finger in the back of my mouth and fell around to see if I was bleeding. Suddenly I felt the urge to vomit. The sharp taste of bile irritated the back of my throat. I clasped both hands over my mouth and, after writhing in agony, I was somehow able to hold back the nausea. I was finally able to breathe normally again, but this time my heart was throbbing intensely. Then it finally registered. Exactly what was mixed in with the mochi. Before I could think of the correct word, my hand was already on the move. Splat. Plop. Splort. I tossed the rest of the mochi against the wall. The geometrical patterns of the scattered bean jam... What is that? On the wall suddenly invoked a terrible omen in my mind. After looking away, I dashed out to the hall and flew upstairs to my room, where I stayed under my covers until morning. I clutched my own shoulders, howling madly in a mix of fear, anger, sadness, and frustration. This wasn't a threat or warning or reminder. Nothing as simple as that. What had happened in Hinamizawa? What is happening in Hinamizawa? What would happen? I didn't know the answer to any of those questions. Where did I break a taboo? Regardless, now Mion and Rena, and the others, they consider me an enemy. And they thought I should just die. I won't let you kill me. Not for such a pointless reason. I fell into a restless sleep as I was crushed by my negative emotions. It was as if I was being drawn into a billowing, bottomless swamp. Yeah, time to move, Keiichi. Time to move. Excuse me? So what's a drug that makes you commit suicide?
単刀直入に 自殺させる薬ってないんですか？
直接的にはない。
遠回しですね。では間接的にはあるってことですか？
自殺したくなる精神状態を誘発することはできる。ちゅうことだ。
難しい言い方になりましたね。何ですかその自殺したくなる精神状態ってのは。
例えば、一般的な心理学見地から言えばじゃが、心理面が内向状態から外向状態に転じるときに、最も自殺が多いと言われちょる。
Clinical depression and bipolar disorder are different. Clinical depression indicates a prolonged state of depression, whereas bipolar disorder is characterized by a passive, depressed state accompanied by an active manic state.
内向状態の時は自信を喪失し非常に悲観的だ。だが自殺もせん。自殺をする気力すらないからだ。逆の状態もまた自殺をせん。
I don't know how true this is. Not this thing, obviously, but the other thing.
今度は逆に非常に自信過剰で行動的なので、自らを順風満帆と思う。だから自殺などせんのだ。
なるほどね。どっちの状態でも自殺をしないのに、状態が入れ替わるときに自殺するんですか？
内向状態には自殺願望はあるが、自殺という大仕事を遂げる気力すらもない。だが、外向状態が始まると、徐々に気力が充実し、体の自由が利くようになってくる。
なるほど。つまり自殺する気力が回復するわけですね。
そういうことじゃのう。だからこの時期に変な気を起こさんように処方箋を施すわけじゃな。
では、富武氏はこの心理状態だったんですかね。
一般的に自殺はちゃんとした文化的な手法で行われる。道具を使用してな。自虐行動とは全く違うぞい。
富武氏の自殺は文化的じゃないですよね。ではやっぱり何かの中毒と考えるのが自然ですか。最初に言った自殺したくなる精神状態を起こす薬ってのを教えてください。
鎮痛薬の一部には心理を内向から外向に過剰転換させる効果があると報告されとる。それから催眠作用を持つ薬を異常摂取した場合にも異常行動が報告されとるが、あまり一般的ではないの。
その二つは検視の報告だと違うみたいですね。他の可能性は？
あとは病気しか考えられん。甲状腺異常を引き起こす病気にしばしばそれに似た症状が報告されとる。だが、それらは概して特徴的な症状が多い。仏は違うの。
もっと突発的に発生するものはありませんかね。今回のケースと合うような突発性で自殺したくなるようなやつです。
他には、そうじゃな。脳障害によって精神に異常を発生する状態じゃな。これは薬物中毒でも起こるが、脳の外傷や一部の病気なんかでも起こる。
つまり薬によらなくても異常な精神状態に陥る可能性があると。
仏は犯人に囲まれて命に危険が迫っとったんじゃろ。極度の緊張が続いて、それに分泌異常が重なって、さらに打ちどころが悪くて脳に障害が起こり自虐行動に走った。
もうちょっと省略して言ってくれませんかね。
つまり乱闘中に豆腐の角に頭ぶつけて、それで異常が発生したと言っとるんだ。
じゃあ星には殺意はなかったってことですかね。ちょいと小銭を巻き上げようと思ったら、たまたま殴りどころが悪かったと。
That could be. Yeah, like they weren't trying to kill him. That would make sense why they would have like bruises and stuff. Okay, that's fair. The two plump men laughed hoarsely.
ってわけはありませんね。
いかにも、薬物の常用にせよ、精神的なものにせよ、仏の身元が鍵を握っとるぞい。
Yeah, I don't know why they have to describe them like that.
あら、こんな時間。そろそろ戻らないとクマちゃん怒っちゃいますね。
おお、
You just completely brushed off his question. You just asked him like 50 questions, and it's like, oh, how's your investigation going? Oh, look at the time, I need to go.
いいお年をの。
いいお年を。
Threat.
おや今の皆さんは確か
議員バッジが2人いたっ
Here's
す。
Kuma guy again.
じゃあ県議と市議の園崎だ。
Oh, Sonozaki's came here. Okay, as you can hear, my foot hand. Oh, you can hear that again? Yeah, my foot hand.
面白いっすね。親戚同士で県議と市議やってんすか。
これがずるいんですよ。お互いの名前で慈善運動バンバン。片方の選挙中にはもう片方が別に講演会を開いて二重に選挙運動やってんですよ。堂々と。
よくわかんないんすけど、それって公選法違反じゃないんすか？
慈善運動にならない限り政治活動は無制限ですからね。クマちゃん、そんなんじゃ選対本部好きになった時大変ですよ。公選法くらいは勉強してください。
俺、知能犯化は無理っす。バカですから。
This does not look like a very well laid out office. Like, what is this? Why do we have like 1, 2, like, unless it's like a meeting room, but this feels like a weird way to have a meeting room set up. Like, this just looks like a weirdly laid out room. It was Prefectural Assembly member Sonozaki and City Councilor Sonozaki. Also the mayor of Hinamizawa. So they're all influenced by the Sonozaki family. What crap.
お見送りしてんのは副所長とうちの課長っすね。
It's your house? Well, if this is your house, there's a lot of, like, this would be a pretty nice house then, I would say. But for an office, I wouldn't say it's good. It came to me. What came to you? Oh, that night when the department chief invited me along to get some oden. I thought that was it.
大石さんは友達多いから聞いてるかもしれないけど。
Is he gonna die here?
聞いてるかな。
いいえ、何も。
お母さん、ガモにはんぺん頼みます。所長んとこに議員の怒鳴り込みがあったんだよ。
あれま、そうなんですか。あ、お母さん、私にもう一杯ください。
Prefectural Assembly member Sonozaki and City Councilor Sonozaki were both intimidating. Our snot-nosed career police chief couldn't handle being yelled at by them. They're like Yakuza.
南沢事件の捜査の仕方で
You think someone's gonna die every scenery change? I swear. If you suspect it every time, you're gonna be right some percentage of the time. And that percentage of the time is gonna be greater than 0.
ありゃ、私？はてはて。
Scenery change is basically a gunshot in your mind. Yeah. Doesn't make you a skillful detective, though. I never said I was. But if I prepare for every single situation, then something's bound to be correct. Not everything. Not most things. But some things.
とぼけるなよ。例のひなみ沢の過去の事件。蒸し返してるだろ。
私、富竹殺しで手一杯でそんな余裕ないですよ。ね。
You're only preparing for situations people die randomly? No, I'm also preparing for... Didn't I prepare for the situation where, what is it? That the guy was gonna get something in his mouth, and that happened to be correct? Right? I prepared for the situation where, you know, like, I mean, I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but there are a couple things. The guy, yeah. Am I wrong? Bro has a name, okay, but he's also a guy.
本当に？本当にそうならいいんだけどさ。
There was a period of silence. While we were silent, we made headway on our food and drink.
いやー、ごちそうになっちゃいました。
The streamer always says silly
負けっ
things.
ぱなしだったんで財布つらかったんですよ。助かりました。
いや、いいよ。また馬教えてよ。
To exclaim, there. I never said I was a genius when I landed one.
大井さんと同じ馬を買うから。
最近はダメです。
Yeah, and I'm saying you're not one. But the entire thing is that you're saying, right, that okay, the entire thing is that you're responding to me saying that I am prepared for every single situation. That was the entire thing that you're saying, but I'm not saying that I am.
馬の声がさっぱりですから。タクシー!
I'm going by train. The department chief is taking a taxi. I have my own car, but it'd be rash to drive it home. Can't blow it right before retirement with a DUI. You just said you were prepared for everything. Yeah. But it's to prepare myself mentally. If I'm not saying I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a genius detective. It's so I don't go in and I'm like, no one's dying in this scene and then someone dies. I would prefer to say someone dies in this scene and then someone dies because it's like the same thing like saying a jump scare is gonna happen right now and then you prepare yourself and then a jump scare doesn't happen. That is way better than not being prepared for a jump scare and then getting jump scared. You know? That's what it's like. Even though he could still rattle off, it still looked like his legs were already jelly. Pushing him into the cab, I gave the driver the department chief's address.
ではではまた明日。良いお年を。
大井さん。
はいはい。
過去の事件は全部個別に終わってる。縦に並べるのはやめるんだよ。村の連中は半ば本気でタタリを信じてるんだから。
You could call me a bitch. I'm not the one getting jump scared here. Alright? I'm not the one getting surprised if someone dies, okay?
Just
like Tomitake-san. When I first saw him, the first thing I said, this guy is either really important much later on, or he's dying. And he died. And I was prepared for it. I wasn't like, no, Tomitake-san, why? I was so interested in his story. He was so mysterious and cool and epic and funny and cool and fun and yeah. Alright, I was like, no. Okay, he died. I don't need to worry about it. We're both reading to the same thing, a dinosaur, and I can call you a bitch. You thought he was gonna die 15 scenes? I said he was going to die at some point. I didn't say he was gonna die at that exact moment, but I said this guy is probably going to die. I never said he was gonna die. I didn't say he was gonna die at that exact moment, but I said he was gonna die. I'll cannot make my person Cat as I'm almost done, but I will start the stream next time with Cat.
すすきので楽しむことにします。な
所長は退職時特別昇給を見直すかもってさ。
A public servant's severance payment is calculated based on their monthly salary when they retire. Oh, hey, I can drink water. So a special promotion of 2 pay grades is given before retirement. This tops up the employee's severance payment. That tends to be how it's done around here. Of course, not exactly a commendable custom. Incidentally, the difference is that 2 pay grades makes to the payout is quite significant.
さすがインテリの若所長は言い出すことが模範的です。で、私たちの給料が血税で支払われてることを思えば、まあ、時代の流れですかね。
It certainly wasn't a laughing matter, but I'll laugh through it anyways.
僕も模範的なこととは思わないよ。でもまあ、大石さんはそれだけの退職金をもらってもおかしくない活躍をしてきたからさ。僕としてはぜひもらってほしいんだよ。
もらえるもんならそりゃ欲しいですけどね。
もらえるよ。大石さんが大人なら。
運転手さん、引き止めてすみませんね。お願いします。
I closed the door roughly, interrupting the department chief's conversation a bit rudely. It looked like he still had something to say, but he just smiled wryly and waved. I waved in return. The cab sped up gradually and soon disappeared among the sea of lights. What? What is this close-up?
参ったな。ローン返済できるかな。
Yeah. Alright. Well, we got through 2 chapters today. End of chapter 9. We're getting close to the end, right? Because you said it was like 11 to 12 chapters, I think? So, either 2 or 3 more? See, you just changed. Watch out for character death incoming. There's a handful more. Okay. We'll see then. What, you know, how many more it has and what I gotta do. I have quite a bit of playtime. How much playtime do I have? I have 14.1 hours, yeah. You're correct. Okay. Well, I think that'll be it from me then for today. I'm pretty happy with this. Yeah, stuff is finally starting to like move away from the slice of life thing. So, yeah, that is very mystery is now taking shape. So yeah, I will be heading to sleep now probably. Mion's still your favorite? Yeah, still my favorite. We haven't seen her in like full on sicko mode though. Like Rena we saw in like the most sicko mode. We haven't seen Satoko and Rika in sicko mode. Oh, thank you, Bonnie, for Bonnie Ronnie for the 19 months. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And Travis Scott, yeah, exactly. Exactly. Okay. Well, yeah. Thank you for everyone who stopped by the stream. Yeah, sicko mode, exactly. Thank you for everyone who stopped by the stream. I appreciate it. And I'll be back with more Higurashi When They Cry